More and more Kiwis are falling victim to sextortion. It's when a criminal threatens to distribute explicit images or videos unless their victim satisfies a demand. Last night, police revealed on Paddy Gower Has Issues that cases have doubled over the past year. There are now 58 reports per month, and many of these victims are kids. Sex therapist and betrayal and trauma specialist Jo Robertson specialises in child pornography, and she joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what exactly is happening here? Children are taking photos of themselves, explicit photos, and then sharing it. Can you explain how this happens?
Yeah, so it might be that they meet someone online, it could be someone they know, it could be someone they know who's posing as a stranger, it could be someone posing as another child or a teenager, and then building a relationship often over a long time or a short time and requesting photos. Sometimes sending explicit photos of themselves straight away to normalise it, and then, yeah, continuously asking for more. But the point where it gets into sextortion is where they then use an initial image and make them send more, or say, hey, you need to get a friend now to do this, or else I'm going to, tell your parents or harm you in some way.
How common is this?
Well, we've got a really significant issue globally. So the Internet Watch Foundation has seen a 1,000% increase since 2019. So you think over the course of the pandemic, we've seen a 1,000% increase of images of 7 to 10-year-olds.
Wow.
Yeah, online. So not just requests, not just relationships formed online, but actual images already distributed.
And typically, these are children taking photos of themselves. This isn't someone taking photos of them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's usually what we call self-generated, which I think is a problematic term because it makes it out that the child is somehow to blame. They've been manipulated, they've been groomed. If that happened in real life, we wouldn't ever blame the child. But that's what kids also fear, so they underreport. So imagine we've got a 1,000% increase, but there's significant underreporting for fear of shame and embarrassment, for fear of punishment from adults.
So this is quite common in New Zealand as well. And then so children are taking these photos, they're sending it to their friends, and then their friends are sending it wider than who it was intended for, and then wanting more, and somehow money comes into this.
Yeah. Yes. So if you think in terms of age groups, so our 7 to 10-year-olds are unlikely to be sending that on to a friend. They're more likely to be sending it on to someone they met online. But our 11-plus-year-olds definitely sending to friends alongside distributing online to strangers. But yeah, sending to a friend, that friend doesn't realise that they're actually possessing child sexual content, and then potentially they distribute to others or they exploit for more.
Oh my goodness. So what kind of impact is this happening on the victims? Because, this is quite new for many viewers, perhaps they didn't grow up with this sort of technology, and we're seeing this more and more. How do you deal with that as a parent, as someone who has a young person in the household? How do you talk to them about this?
Yeah, well, first we know the impacts are really similar to PTSD. So we know that online harm impacts people in the same way, pretty much, that real life harm is. So we can't minimise that. Let's please not, make out that it's somehow less impactful. In fact, the images are there forever. So you might be concerned that, your future employee, your future spouse, your future whatever. If you're a teacher, you're concerned that the children in your classroom, that their parents may see your images.
Yeah.
So it's really widespread. But then also, the way that you talk about that question's really good. You have to be so engaged. So parents often kind of take their hands off and go, oh, technology, hard, too hard basket, don't know how to manage it, what would I even do? And so they kind of disengage over time. Stay engaged. And you have to have a really explicit conversation about if someone asks you for a photo and what to do about that. And ideally, you take that straight to a parent and you show them, keep it as evidence, because usually a perpetrator, they've got over 250 victims over the time that they act in that kind of criminal role. So you want to keep evidence so that we can take that person down and then not continuously creating harm.
On the episode last night, Paddy Gower Has Issues, they said, many of these offenders are offshore as well. Yeah. So it's not, these aren't Kiwis targeting Kiwis. These are who knows who targeting us.
Yes, definitely. We know that the largest host of child sexual abuse material is in the US. So it used to be elsewhere, but now they host the most content. That doesn't mean that they create the most content, but that they host it. So it's often somebody there who's asking for content.
How do we get this message through to teenagers, who think they know everything, you know, and if you say something like, oh, this could affect your future job prospects, they're not necessarily going to care about that because they're living in the moment. What kind of language should we use when we talk to them about the potential impacts of things like this?
I find that the best way to engage with teenagers is to use their empathy. So we often focus on them as a person, you know, what's the harm going to be to you? And actually we've got a generation of young people who are quite caring. You know, they care about the environment. They care about issues around racism. And so engage in that part of them, the empathy for others. You know, what's it going to be like for the person you ask for a photo? How's that going to make them feel? And then how are they going to experience it if you share that photo? So talk about it with, with other people and harm to them. But also I find when I've talked to teenagers about the fact that they're asking for illegal content, that they're hosting it on their phone and that the distribution of it is also a crime, they're quite surprised. They have no idea because nobody told them.
Yeah.
So they're just doing something that feels a little bit risky and exciting, and also it's arousing, but they have no idea that they're participating in child sexual content.
And because it's normalised, right? A lot of them are doing that. If your child is a victim of this, how do you then negotiate that? Do you get a third party in to help out? You know, it's something that maybe parents aren't comfortable dealing with just themselves. How would you recommend people go about that?
Yeah, you definitely want to talk to NetSafe, so they have the because they manage the Harmful Digital Communications Act, so they can go about trying to get that image removed. There's another website called Take It Down, which was established by Meta, and so you can upload a photo, they find that photo anywhere on the internet, and then actively seek to take it down. It's a really great initiative. You have to you are the parent or the young person who you know engages with them directly, but then you want to try and connect with your school counsellor or a private counsellor. There's like little to no funding for this. There's been a 1,000% increase, but we haven't had a 1,000% increase in funding or the amount of therapists who can work in this space. But definitely keep trying. And ultimately, your child needs you. They need you. They need to feel like you care about them, that you're on their team, that you're not judging them.
Thank you so much for coming in this morning. That's sex therapist and betrayal and trauma specialist Jo Robertson.